It's so angry that I was treated this way because of laws that were passed that by men who have never been pregnant and never will be.
Stell's nightmare started out as a dream come true. After months of trying, she became pregnant late last summer.
We were super excited because we didn't think I could get pregnant.
An ultrasound at 7.5 weeks showed all was well. But at an ultrasound 2 weeks later,
She said, there is no heartbeat, there is no viable pregnancy.
Stell asked her doctor for a standard treatment, a surgery to remove the fetal remains. She says her doctor refused. That surgery, commonly known as a D&C, is the same procedure used to abort a living fetus.
She said, well, because of the new law that's passed, you're going to have to get another ultrasound for me to be able to even do anything for you.
Yeah, this is not news from the future. This isn't from The Handmaid's Tale. It's not from 2026 after the DeSantis administration. No, this is right now. This is already happening. An unimaginable development in her life. So hard, so tough already. Nothing's gonna stop that. And we have decided to make it far, far worse, to make her carry around the remains of a fetus, of the pregnancy she lost for literally weeks because of the legal system that we've set up. We've got more, take a look at this.
The pain would get so severe, it would be hard to walk.
She went to get a second invasive ultrasound at an imaging center, describing it later in a YouTube video.
Someone shoves a wand in my sensitive area and tells me, hey, you lost your baby again. I shouldn't have to go through that twice.
Even after that second ultrasound, would your obstetrician give you the surgical procedure?
No, no.
Stell had to go get yet another ultrasound showing her dead fetus. So you were walking around carrying a dead fetus?
And just emotionally carrying it around and just knowing that there's nothing you could do, it just feels very, it's like I can't grieve or move past it because I'm just walking around carrying it.
This is heartless, it's unimaginably cruel. You know, it's coming right after last week we had the story of the 10-year-old that the right didn't care that she had been obligated by law to give birth to the product of rape. Well, now we have this. She's talking about having to emotionally and physically carry around the remains of this fetus. Now, emotionally having to do that is absolutely devastating. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But let's also be clear, physically, incredibly, incredibly dangerous to force this on someone. Dr. Lillian Shapiro, an OBGYN, said this about forcing this to happen. She can develop an infection that can make her sterile and never able to have children again. When the baby dies inside, the baby starts to release parts of its tissue that can get into the mother's blood supply. It can cause organ failure, it can cause death. So let's be clear, this isn't about life when you're risking a mother dying after she's already lost her kid. Okay, this isn't about choice, the fetus died. Like none of this fits in any way to the supposed values reasons that they've given for forcing this horrible situation. She had to wait 2 weeks, Yasmin. It is so unimaginable, and it is already, this is not hypothetical, this is not in the future. This has already happened in Texas.
Yeah, it's fun being a woman in Texas. And I remember Marlena, I used to watch her, and I think that a lot of women my age probably remember her quite fondly. She was pretty big in the early 2000s, I think. And also I live in Texas, and I'm a woman who is 33 and a half years old. And unfortunately, Marlena's story exemplifies my biggest fear now, because as I'm 33 now and I'm thinking about whether or not I even want to or can afford to have kids in this country, especially in Texas, what if something went wrong, right? Then all my options that I had before are no longer my options, right? I would have to leave the state, and thankfully I have the means to do so, but so many people don't. And even if they do, that shouldn't be the case, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't be put in a position where our own bodies are being weaponized against us. And the thing with carrying a fetus for 2 weeks is horrifying. And I'm sorry if this is too graphic, but most women know you can't even leave an old tampon inside of you for too long without the serious risk of infection. Walking around with a fetus inside of you that is no longer living is horrifying. And as the doctor pointed out, I mean, it has dire consequences for the woman for the rest of her life that she'll never be able to recover from.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad that you also referenced that like go to a different state is not the solution. For some, it might be. That is not the solution. I understand the like some people are angry about what's going on, and so that's the thing that you throw out knee jerk. That is like, let's remember the times that we live in, how rough they have been, the years that have just passed. That is not a solution. And we cannot come to tolerate an idea that you might have some rights, some basic human decency if you're in the right spot in America. But we're gonna surrender huge sections to absolute barbarism. That is not acceptable. Now I wanna read a little bit of what Marlena had to say about this after her experience. She says, I'm sorry if this is offensive or hurts people's feelings, but the hardest conversations are the one most important to have. My husband and I decided to not try for more children while in the state of Texas because of the care I received here. Texas is a beautiful state with so many amazing people. However, the heartbeat bill puts doctors and pregnant women at risk for getting medical care they need in a timely manner. If a woman miscarries and cannot pass the fetus naturally, she needs to expel it medically. A D&C has, for me, in a previous miscarriage, been the safest way to prevent sepsis. If a pregnant mom goes septic, she can die in literally hours. Meanwhile, it takes days to get multiple ultrasounds and or just legal clearance for doctors to perform a D&C, thus putting pregnant women at risk while they wait. In addition, there's the emotional toll of doing that as well. Also, by the way, having to do multiple different medical procedures across multiple days, incredibly difficult for people who are working one job, let alone 2 or 3. Also, none of that is free in America. So it's a massive additional cost that no one can actually justify. And the right isn't even going to try to. They're not gonna be engaging with this story. They're not gonna be covering it. They're gonna deny if they don't just ignore outright the same way they did with that 10-year-old in Ohio. This is the reality of what they have created, and they're going to hide from it because they know no rational, compassionate person would accept this as a status quo in America.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying when you get to a point in society where you have to convince other human beings of your own humanity. And the fact that not only are we walking, talking, somehow conscious, flesh, blood, and electricity, but we have feelings, right? And I'm glad that you mentioned that and I'm glad Marlena mentioned it, because all this stuff that women are going through, it's not just an incredible physical toll on our bodies, but emotionally, and especially in Marlena's case, she wanted that pregnancy, she wanted that baby. She was put in a position where it was harmful to her body to have it. And for a lot of women, myself included, that's the fear now. That's the fear of, if I get pregnant in Texas and God forbid something goes wrong, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna be made infertile for the rest of my life and I can't even try again later, even if I move to another state? It's ridiculous.
Exactly, and the idea that would be the outcome of their supposed desire for more children.
Yeah, in the most advanced country in the world, yeah.
Exactly, in a country that even before all of these new legal developments didn't give a damn about the maternal death rate and all of that.
And that's particularly bad here in Texas as well. We already had a really bad track record with maternal fatalities.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.